welcome back to the IRHSP series. Thank you Irresistibles for sponsoring today's video, and thank you for joining in. Today we are going to play and we're gonna have some fun. I do have a video that's in my member only content. However, I am going to show you how to make some really cool sponges. I'm only gonna do one because I really wanted to do this print on our next layer. So let's get started. All right, you all know what wood burners are, right? They are a simple tool. They're really cool. You can use them for a ton of different projects or crafts. And today we're gonna use this guy to make a really cool textured sponge that we'll be using for you guys at home. If you don't have this, don't worry about it. If you don't have the ability to make this tool or make this sponge, not a big deal. You can use a regular model sponge, okay? For today, I just grabbed a cosmetic wedge. We're going to use this to create that new sponge. I need to order new sponges. With this wood burning tool, this is the Walnut Howl 25 watt 120 volt AC. It is really nice because it has a switch and it has a little stand so that you don't accidentally burn yourself or something else. All right, they do have different tips that you can put into, I don't want to touch it, in the very top here. You can unscrew this tip and put in a different tip. I think it came with like 4 other sizes or styles of tips. All I did when I wanted to make this sponge, you have to go in a very smooth and continuous motion. Once you start, you don't want to stop. All right, had to check my ovens. So when you start, you have to make sure that you're having a very soft touch. Don't put a lot of pressure. You don't need a lot of pressure. Think of it as if you were to take a feather and you're wisping a feather across the surface. That's the type of touch you want to use with this guy. It's super light, very soft and smooth and continuous. Don't stop once you start, because then you're going to have kind of a weird different pattern. However, it's not going to be wrong. It'll just be different than what we're trying to achieve. Today, we're trying to achieve more of a snaky appearance in the model instead of doing like your holes. So you can see here's a couple examples of the holes that I've done, which I really love, and I think it's really cool, but I don't know if I would necessarily use this tool to make plain model sponges. I still like plucking them because the circular portion that's melted is a very defined circle, and so I like plucking those circles a little bit softer so it has a little bit more of a broken surface, where this is too much for me. I don't want polka dots. However, I do like doing this and doing a snake type pattern. You can see on this one, very lightly, we've just gone through and continuously moving, squiggling through so that we get a really cool kind of skin textured appearance. All right, I had to turn my oven down. I will start from the top corner and come down and work myself around the edges, then towards the center. I've had pretty good luck with that. I don't want to see that defined corner, so I'm going to hit that first. Very lightly. You're almost drawing. Don't worry about having any kind of issue with the black charred portion from where it melted. That will work itself off. It's not a big deal. Once you put the paint on, you won't even notice. Look how cool that is. Isn't that fun? That's a really cool one. If you want to go even further, you could go on the corners or the edges. I think this is something to think about. Turning my tool off, setting it aside. When you're applying your pattern down, yes, you'll still be doing that twisting motion, but instead of going on the surface like this and going around. When you get to those higher points, you're gonna rock it through one time, so that way you get a nice even pattern and not just that pattern sitting on that surface and then nothing next to it, so it looks kind of weird. And then you got to go back in and kind of do these other movements to fill that in a little bit. So try doing a rocking motion with it, and by having done our little texture on the side, I'm hoping that that will make a big difference. All right, now that we got our sponge, let's get into what color we'll be working with today. Today, I want to introduce you to the Magenta Pink by IRHSP. I really like this pink. It's soft, it's not too bold. It has more of a warmer undertone, I would say. We've got a little bit more of the red undertone versus like a blue. So it is casting a really pretty light magenta color. This is a really good color to do as part of your model or texture. So today I want to show you how we can do a fast track with our color so we can get a little color a little faster. I'm going to put my little squeegee in here and pick up our color, and I'll probably do about that much, maybe about that much. We'll start with that. And if you don't remember or you didn't watch the earlier episodes, you want basically equal parts of your pigment to your liquid thin. So I did one little pea size of the coloring, so I'm going to do a pea size of our liquid thin. All right, get that nice and mixed up. This is pretty suspended, and I know that like if you had gone back in this area, we had worked with the liquid thin. We want to have it thin enough where it's gonna run on your palette, but not be super runny. We want it a little bit more fluid, and in order to do that, that's where we're gonna add equal parts of our thinner. I'll be using the Eco House for this. And I gotta get a squeeze bottle for it so that it's a little easier to apply. Let me move this. However, using a pipette works great. We did about 3 drops of that liquid thin, so I'm gonna do a few drops of our thinner. I think I'm gonna go just a couple more, and we'll see how that is. I love those pipettes. It's just a great tool. Okay. Isn't that pretty? That's just a pretty color. I love that. This is like your strawberries and cream skin tone. So you can see it's pretty suspended. So I'm going to add just a few more drops. So we did about 4 more drops, and that's looking a lot better. The one thing you got to think about is as you are doing this layer, your thinner is going to start evaporating in your color palette. So you may need to add thinner as you go. So pay attention. If your pigment starts feeling a little too thick and it's a little harder to work with and not have that real nice glide, then add a few more drops of your thinner. There we go. Now we're getting that nice runny consistency to it. I think I'm going to add just maybe 2 more drops of our thinner. And when I'm talking fast track, I'm talking using more of a higher pigmented color or more of a higher concentration, but you still have to do it in very thin layers. So if you go too thick with your pigment or your paint, what will happen is that you might have trouble with it curing like we talked about in our last video. So you want to make sure that even if you do higher pigments or more pigment, you need to put it or apply it on thin as well. All right, here's the fun part, guys. I'm gonna wipe it off my little squeegee here so I don't waste my product. We're gonna get our new little sponge that we've made. I'm gonna work my pigment around. Oh, that looks good. And this will be enough for pretty much the whole kit. You may even have extras, who knows. I am not going to get too crazy and go all the way down with my color. I'm just gonna go on the edge a little bit. There we go. Good enough. We're gonna start with the head, back of the head like we always do, so that way if you do make a mistake, it is one of those areas that either you can manipulate a little quicker, a little easier time hiding if you had any color stain left behind or whatever. And plus, if you're rooting, you can hide it easier. So the back is always the way to go. Look at how pretty that is. Ooh, I like it. That is that beautiful strawberry and cream kind of look. Working my way, doing that twisting motion. So you're creating this really cool texture through the kit versus having just your standard model. You're gonna go on the back of the ear with this. I didn't already say that. You will go on the front of the ear, underneath the ear, pretty much everywhere. I always go around that ear first, and then I will work towards the rest of the area. Let's pick up a little bit more. That is such a pretty color, you guys. I should put it out just in case you guys forgot. And we'll add it to our color map. All right. Doing our twisting motion. You're gonna do a very light touch too. Don't do a lot of pressure. And when you're using your cosmetic wedge, one side's gonna be longer than the other. I always flip it to the longer side when I'm getting behind the ear because of the angle. It can get closer in towards the crease. And then when you do the back of the ear, you're gonna work the same way, getting that longer end in there so that it can get as close to the crease as possible. Okay. Oh, you guys, that's so pretty. I love it. I love it. The thing with premix colors, they have already been formulated so that it takes all the guesswork out and you don't have to try to figure out what ratio of what color to add to get to a certain color. That's the one thing I like about it. However, in the past, some of the pigments that I had used, I wasn't a real big fan of because it did have kind of a weird gray or washed out appearance to it. And that's because of the color that they add to it. Remember, when you're working with your pigments and you're trying to lighten a pigment, you need to add your white. And if you're trying to darken it to create more of a deeper tone, you need to add your black. So oftentimes when you get the mixed colors, they have a little bit too much of one versus the other, whatever. But I have found with the Irresistibles, and not just because Esther is sponsoring us today, but it is a true color and I don't have any residual color effects happening. I'm getting exactly what is on my plate onto my surface. And when we bake it, I will show you the results in addition to when it flashes. So that way you can get a good idea of what this actually looks like. You're gonna work all the way around the face, encompassing the face so that we do the face last. Without picking up any pigment, I'm gonna use what's left on my brush and work that into the surface. I'm gonna start at the forehead, working towards the lid. Here's the thing about this one. I'm gonna be careful and not go over the bridge of the nose too much. I wanna do it lightly so that way I keep the highlighted areas still highlighted, but it's richening up the base colors of our blushing. Working myself around. Going on the upper lip a little bit. There we go. So we had completely avoided the top of the nose right through here, and then right in here through here underneath the eyelids, and the lips themselves in the top portion of the chin. That will continue to allow us to have that luminescence from the yellow coming through, and then this color will complement that. If you find that any given area is too bold for you, then go in with your dry brush and pounce it out. Like there's a couple spots back here I wasn't crazy about. And as you pounce it out, it'll just soften those edges so it's not as bold and it'll appear a little bit more blotchy. And that's kind of what I like. There we go, that's a little better. For the front, I want to work it into the top through here. So I don't want to have it be real vivid, but I also want it to have a little bit of that texture coming through. Here we go. That looks good. I will also pick up our brush and we're going to work on those lips. When I'm doing my lips, resting my forearm on the palm of my hand so that I can balance my hand and holding my brush closer to the end so that you have better control. I'm going to tap the color in on the edge of the lip line, but you're tapping. You're not going to brush it because you don't want it to look like it's wearing lipstick. So tap, 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 very lightly, a light pressure up towards the top of the lip and continue working your way around. Here we go. The other thing you can do is take the side of your brush and tap the edge of your line with the side of the brush so it softens the line and blends it a little bit to make it more blurred and not drawn on. We're going to do the same thing with the bottom lip. I'm going to tap in that color. We want to keep it a little bit highlighted through there, so I'm not going to go on the side of my brush, but I will go into the corners here. And I'm going to go around the nose, right around the nostril, remembering to work from the nostril around up towards the bridge. To the bottom, our little sucky lip. I'm going to go over the crease of the eye, and that's where I need to switch my brush out, getting to my more detailed brush. I hit those creases a little bit. Here we go. You can hit the lip creases as well. Don't need to do a lot, but then I'm going to grab my smaller dry brush, pressing that color into the crease, making sure it's not pooling in there, but it's spread evenly. There we go. Looking good. All right, we're going to go on the neck, and I'm going to get a bigger brush again for that. I use this guy. A little bit wider. Do the edge through there. So what do you guys think? Are you enjoying the videos? Are you learning something? I do see that people are watching it, but you guys are very quiet. Let me know in the comments. I do love reading your comments. And even if it's something that you think that would make a difference in improvement, or maybe you have a better solution for something, drop it in the comments. Everybody is totally welcome to their opinions, and it's nice to get feedback. I'm going to go right, this one isn't a true crease, it's more of kind of a shadow. What I did is I hit that area, but I'm going to go over it with like a tapping motion to soften it out. So it's more of a shadow or a shade versus a line. I will do the ear as well, but this is where I'm going to go in through the back of the fold, working my way towards the top of the crease or top of the fold. So that way we get a nice coloring in there that will cast that pink shadow in there. And this is already dry enough for me to rest my pinky there and touch it. If you feel like it's not dry enough, then just don't do it. But it allows me a little bit more stability by resting my pinky on the head. Working my way around. It's looking good. Here we go. And we're going to hit the inside of the canal. If you want to switch out your brush, this would be a good time to switch out to your angular brush. So what often happens is you miss painting the edge, the inner edge of your ears and nose. If you use a angular brush, you can get in there a lot easier. Right in through here. Let's see. I need to add a little more color. That looks good. Moving on to this side, I'll work on the inside ridge, drawing it up to the top. There we go. I'm going to bring it down the crease just a little bit in the canal. That looks good. And I'm going to hit the very top of that ear too. Grab my other brush, my angular brush, so I can get into these nooks a little easier. Tap that color in there. All right, I really like that. That looks really good, really cute. I'm gonna let this guy sit and we'll move on to the limbs. All right, guys, we're gonna move on to that limb. And again, we're gonna do one arm and one leg, and you guys can do the other arm and leg on your own time. I had to reconstitute our pigment just a little bit because I had stepped away. But now that we were ready to get going again, it had evaporated, or the thinner had evaporated and left behind the pigment and the liquid thin, so way too thick. So we had to thin it out a little bit by using our pipette and our thinner. All right, picking up our lovely sponge. Look at that pattern. That's a really cool pattern. Oh, and side note, make sure you unplug your wood burner just in case you accidentally bump the switch. Not that I've done that, but just in case. We're gonna start with the top of the leg, working down, doing that twisting motion all the way down. When you're going up on the top, you want to make sure you're going over that flange. Don't go in front of it, actually go over it. Pick up a little bit more of our color. All right. And you only need to go over the area one time. You don't need to do multiple passes, because the more passes you do, the more you're going to blur out your pattern, and it's no longer gonna hold the shape that you're trying to achieve, or the design. We're doing the entire limb, going over the knee. Get a little bit more of our pigment. Before you do the bottoms of the feet, you can use that heel on the surface of your table to keep you more stable. Taking your sponge, I will start on the side and do this rocking motion, so that way I'm hitting it one time, all of it, and not missing anything. Going through the side, that looks good. Going back on the heel, over the heel, through the arch of the foot, and the side. Picking up your detailed brush, go ahead and paint the tips of those toes with this color. I'm using my hand on the counter just to stabilize myself a bit. Okay, turning that limb over, hitting the edges up to the nail, but not on the nail. Doing each toe. Then we're gonna hit some of those creases. I'm gonna go through the back, around the toes, getting in there real good. In between the toes, the tops of the toes, and then at the top of the toe, you're gonna do a little bit of that magenta right at the top of the foot. And we're gonna go back to the back of the foot. We're gonna hit the bigger crease, hitting some of them, but not all of them. If you get a little overzealous like I just did, use your dry brush, blend it out. Just gonna press that spot out a little bit. Go over the creases on the heel. If you want to switch out to a smaller brush, you can, but you don't have to. I don't like any kind of defined line. I'll just go over these one time softly, give it a little bump. Not all of them, just the bigger ones. Through the top here. Get the crease through there. And that is looking good. That is our leg. Very nice. We'll move on to the arm, picking up more color, double checking that the thinner hasn't evaporated too much. So checking my glide, and it still feels really good. So we're still good with that. And this one I'm gonna leave my dowel in so I have better stability while I'm doing the limb or working on the limb. Starting at the top of the arm, rocking over that edge, doing one pass. You don't have to do multiple passes unless you want to have it be much more of a blurred or soft appearance, more of a blotchy appearance, not necessarily a mottled kind of appearance. Going under the arm, using that longer edge of the sponge to get in there. Going over that top of the arm, this part of the arm, and of course the top of the shin. I've learned by rocking your sponge, you're able to put that color down evenly and nicely so that way you don't lose that pretty pattern. All right. Gonna go over the top of the hand. Go over the fingers. Go over the wrist. Palm of the hand. And then to do the tips of the fingers, this is where you can, if you want to make it easier on yourself, just keep tapping the tips of the fingers with your sponge and it will basically fill in that area that we're trying to paint. I always go over it with my brush as well. Hit that tip of the finger, going all the way around the tip, avoiding the nail bed itself. Looking good. And doing the thumb. Then we're going to go over some of the creases. Go over the back of the hand in those creases, between the fingers, behind the knuckles, inside that crease that goes around the thumb, between the index finger and the thumb. I will do the larger crease on the palm of the hand, just a few of the other ones. The wrist, going over here, hitting the crease on the top side of the fingers, kind of going around the base of the fingers and the thumb, going between or behind the elbow, and at the top of the arm. And that looks good. All right, so there's your arm. Before we go, I will show you what the head looked like after it has flashed. You don't have to wait for this to flash, even though it has thinner in it, because it's such a minute amount of thinner. It's not like you're working with washes. And by the time you get done applying that color, it has already flashed off. So you don't need to wait. This is one where you can go ahead and bake it at 265 degrees right when you're done. I'm going to go ahead and bake it. The reason I'm going to bake it is because I find that the layers cure easier, which allows the next layer to lay even nicer. In the past, I would do a few layers, which I still do, don't get me wrong. But when I'm working with the liquid thin or any of the pigment that has a little bit more suspension to it, I will bake probably every layer depending on what I'm doing. So that way each layer is cured properly. So the next layer lays really nicely and the colors don't get muddled. All right, so there is your head. You can see how cool that looks. Boy, I age myself by saying that. You can see how nice it looks with that texture. Really gave it an extra pop. This is your fast track into getting color quicker using your liquid thin and doing a more concentrated version. You can use your washes to do this as well, but I chose to do it this way so I could show you another trick. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video and I appreciate you watching. Thank you again to Irresistibles for sponsoring us. If you have not subscribed to our channel, make sure you do so and hit that little bell so you get notified when we upload our next video. I'm trying to do them each week, but sometimes I can't get to it. If you're interested in learning a little bit more, finding more perks, make sure you join our channel by going to your desktop to see our YouTube channel. It will give you a join now button where you can choose the level that's right for you. And so thank you again, you guys, for watching. Make sure you leave your comments below, share the video, and let me know how it's going. I love hearing your feedback and I really appreciate all your support. I will see you guys all again next week. Bye-bye.